So, if you would describe interdisciplinary as a person, Liesbet could be a prime example. With a background in mechanical engineering, biomechanics and tissue engineering, she's a professor at the University of Liège in Leuven. And here she focuses on combining the in vitro and the in silico models to optimize cell-based treatment strategies for bone effects. Furthermore, she's an executive director at the VPH Institute to promote development and adoption of digital twins within healthcare. So, welcome. As a start, could you maybe tell us a bit more of what you try to achieve within the VPH Institute?
So the VPH Institute is the International Society for In Silico Medicine. And what we try to do there is the typical things that societies do, like EUROoCS, organize conferences, summer schools, have awards for students. But on top of that, we really try also to organize the entire pathway from bed to bedside. So we engage with stakeholders, with patients, with clinicians, with regulatory agencies, with policymakers, to make sure that whenever a model is ready to be taken to the patient or to industry, that the entire pathway is clear, that we know how to do this, how to assess credibility, and how to bring this to the patient.
Yeah, so there's also a bit of a part of helping with the standardization, I guess, then of...
Exactly. So interactions with the regulators have been very instrumental also in driving the maturity of the field. If we agree on how we can do credibility assessment of our in silico models, then we at least know, also as researchers, what are the things that we need to do, what are the steps that we need to take.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So, also because I think in your own words, could you then explain to us what a digital twin is and what the added benefits are of these advanced in vitro models with this approach to the healthcare?
Digital twins are in silico representations of physical events that can be processes, but also tools or organs, for instance. So in healthcare, digital twins mean that you can have a digital twin of the heart, digital twin of the lung, but also digital twin of a person, or even digital twin of a medical device, or digital twin of a bioreactor that is creating a certain solution. Important in digital twins is that there's always a link between the digital and the physical twin. So somehow there needs to be information from the patient through imaging, or from the system through sensors to the digital twin. And then the digital twin will make a prediction on how the process is going. And this that can be used to take a decision on the physical counterpart. This decision is, in the classical digital twins, is normally automatic or semi-automatic, but in healthcare, often this goes through human in the loop, like a clinician using a digital twin to make a decision on a treatment strategy for a patient. And in this context, the use of in vitro models like organs on chip are really important because they can provide human-based data to calibrate the models and to inform the models with patient-specific information or human-specific information. Otherwise, we often don't have clinical data, so then we need to use animal data to feed our models. And in this case, at least with the organ on chip, we can have human-based data. Yeah. And vice versa. What in silico models can provide to the organs on chip is actually the broader picture. So you can take the information on a chip, which is very small scale, and you can plug it into a model, for instance, of the organ itself. So providing the mechanical context, the tissue context, and using that biological information that you got from the organ on chip inside to create the insight, an integrated insight into the biology.
Yeah, so I guess then this is really sort of becomes like a ping pong effect. So like you get something back from the in silico model, you try to replicate this in the in vitro model, then what comes out? Yeah. And it's like model refinement.
Exactly, it's an iterative loop where one informs the other.
Yeah. Absolutely. Very interesting. And then also because, well, I guess with all these in silico models, then we also see like the extreme rise in artificial intelligence is needed, well, with these in silico models to get all the readouts, but also with machine learning. So, however, this adaptation to AI is sometimes met with skepticism of people as well, where they say, well, with a model it can be unreliable because you could have poor data sets, for example. Yeah. What is your opinion on this, like on this impact of the modeling of biology?
So with AI, I'd first like to say that AI and machine learning are technologies on the entire in silico scale spectrum. So you have the black box part of it, which is AI and machine learning, where you don't know or you don't use whatever you already know. On the other side of the in silico spectrum, you have the mechanistic-based models, or the hypothesis-based models, where you start from what you know, you translate this into mathematics, and then you do the simulations. So anything on the scale of in silico technologies, their credibility assessment is important to have this reliability of the digital evidence that is created. And we are, together with the regulators, we are really working on guidelines on how to do this credibility assessment for physics-based models, but also for the AI and the machine learning models. And each has their own specificities. But it's really important to do this credibility assessment to show that in the implementation everything is right, but also in the validation, and that we understand the uncertainty, that we can do uncertainty quantification.
Okay, so really there is always first, good qualification of everything according to the data set, and then afterwards
you have to show that what goes into the model is reliable, so that, and then what you do with what goes into the model, that is reliable as well, so that you can trust whatever comes out of the model.
Yeah, it really becomes quickly.
But it's the same as with any biological model as well, because an organ on chip is also a model, and you need to understand what it is that you put in, what are the cells, what are the materials that you put in, how your setup works, so how you treat whatever goes in order to be able to trust what comes out of it.
You really need to characterize every bit that you're using.
Exactly.
And then you can be sure what's actually coming out as reliable.
Exactly.
So this was mostly about the research, but then if we look at how the research is done, your department, or you are head of a department that's split up over 2 cities. So you have one part that is in Leuven, in the Dutch, in the Vlaams part of Belgium, and then there's another part in Liège, in the French or Wallonian part of Belgium. How do you strike a balance in managing these 2 groups, and then also especially that employees at both these locations are still happy and that they can talk enough with you?
So first and foremost, I have a great team. So these people are excellent people, and that helps a lot. We have set up our team, we have a communication through Slack. So we have across the team, wherever they're located, whether it's in the engineering school or the medical school, whether it's in Leuven or in Liège, we communicate through Slack. We have shared interests. People in Liège are using protocols from Leuven and vice versa. So this is really because we're all working on the same topic or around the same thematic. People have understood that there is something to be gained by asking the input of somebody else. And on top of that, our team is composed at people with very different and complementary expertise. So we have biomedical engineers, we have mechanical engineers, mathematicians, but also biomedical scientists, medical doctors, dentists. So it's really a very diverse group of people that have really come to understand that by talking to each other, by learning each other's perspective, that this provides an added value to the work that they are doing.
Well, and then, really sort of fits in the interdisciplinary field as well. You both really work in with
absolutely
just everyone with a different expertise, but still to actually manage that they are talking and speaking their similar language.
It takes a bit of time to acquire this language, to understand that when somebody talks about matrix, to know whether they're talking about the square thing with ones and zeros, or whether they're talking about extracellular matrix. But once you're there, this is really something where we're all there to try and solve the same problem. And the problem that we're trying to solve is so complex and there's so many different aspects to it that it would be a bit strange to think that with just one perspective on it, you would be able to answer all the questions.
Well, luckily, we don't have to do it that way.
Exactly.
So I think this sort of leads into the next question, because the work is very interdisciplinary, and also your team. But do you also think that we as an organ-on-chip community could benefit if we work more closely with any of these other disciplines? Like, do you think that we need to put more effort in as well? For example, the EUROoCS Society with other similar societies in the other fields?
I think the EUROoCS Society is already giving a very good example of having these close interactions with regulators and with between industry and academia. So I think it's pretty interdisciplinary already. And if you look at the keynote speakers that were here at this conference in Milan, these are all, there are a few really core EUROoCS people, but then also people that are more on the outskirts, like myself, doing in silico modeling using organs on chip. And I think this really shows that EUROoCS is very much open to this. So I think a lot of other societies might take an example from EUROoCS in this case.
Well, I think that's one of the better compliments that EUROoCS could get. So maybe then just as a final question, just to round off, if you could say one thing to yourself when you first started your PhD, what would this have been?
That's a tricky one because there are so many things I would like to say. But I think in your PhD, it's really okay to try and acquire a lot of different skills. So I focused a lot on the modeling. I think I would have, and I participated in some of the experiments. I think I would have maybe liked to have a bit more lab experience to complement the other skills that I acquired. But in your PhD, this is really the time to learn. So keep an open mind and try to acquire a very broad skill set so that you're set up for whatever comes after that in your career.
Okay, well, thank you very much for this interview, for your time.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, see you tomorrow for the interview or for the keynote.
Thank you.